JASMINE unveils 1B golf scandal, exposes Musk's Doge deception. Are you ready for a political explosion that'll leave you speechless? It's 10:51 a.m. on June 24, 2025, and the House Doge Subcommittee hearing is about to erupt. In this jaw-dropping fictional showdown, Rep. Jasmine Crockett takes on Elon Musk in a battle for truth and taxpayer money. Imagine Musk the mastermind behind Doge's wild government cuts facing Crockett's fiery grill, accusing him of leaving a stench of chaos after slashing 99% of Voice of America's staff and promising $2 trillion in savings that's only delivered $175 billion. Gasps fill the room as Crockett exposes his dubious numbers and a scandalous big bad bill with $1 billion for Trump's golfing. Is this a cover-up to shield Musk's companies from oversight? The stakes are sky-high. Millions lose healthcare jobs, vanish, and seniors tremble over lost services. Will Crockett force Musk to answer, or will his smirk and promises of future influence win? This isn't just drama, it's your tax dollars on the line. Hit play now to witness the clash that could change everything, and don't miss a second. Subscribe, share with friends who demand accountability, and comment. Should Musk face the music? Let's uncover the truth together. Tuesday, June 24, 2025, and the House Doge Subcommittee hearing room is a powder keg of anticipation. The air hums with tension as Representative Jasmine Crockett, the newly appointed chairwoman from Texas, strides to the podium, her presence commanding silence. This showdown, crafted to explore the depths of government accountability, pits her against Elon Musk, the visionary turned controversial figure behind the Department of Government Efficiency Doge. The room packed with lawmakers, aides braces for a clash that could redefine trust in public funds. Crockett's voice cuts through the stillness like a thunderclap. Ladies and gentlemen, today we summon Elon Musk to answer for the chaos he's unleashed. She declares her Texas drawl, laced with righteous fury. She wastes no time accusing Musk of leaving a stench of destruction after leading Doge's sweeping reforms. Under his watch, Voice of America lost 99% of its staff. The Department of Education shed nearly half its workforce, and the Department of Health and Human Services saw a quarter of its employees cut. She says her words dripping with disdain. The figures, stark and staggering, hit the audience like a slap, resonating with taxpayers who've long suspected government waste. She paints a vivid picture of the fallout. These aren't just numbers, their lives disrupted. Crockett continues, her eyes blazing. Federal workers fired, services gutted, and our economy teetering because of reckless cuts. The room murmurs as she references seniors in her district, scared of losing health care, and support a sentiment that strikes a chord with viewers who value community stability. Mr. Musk, you promised efficiency, but all I see is a trail of broken trust. She adds, her tone a challenge to the tech mogul seated across from her, his trademark smirk barely masking his unease. Musk shifts in his chair, adjusting his posture as if preparing for battle. Representative, I've worked tirelessly to streamline government. He begins, his voice smooth but edged with defiance. Doge is about progress, cutting fat to save the future. His response is a calculated deflection, but Crockett isn't swayed. Progress, she retorts, leaning forward. You've left a mess and taxpayers are paying the price. This hearing will uncover the truth starting now. The gavel slams, signaling the start of a grueling interrogation as the audience leans in, eager to see if Crockett can force answers from the elusive billionaire. For viewers, this is more than a political spat. It's a fight for their money and dignity. Crockett's opening salvo sets a tone of unrelenting scrutiny, promising a showdown that could expose the cracks in Musk's reforms. What will he reveal under pressure? The stage is set, and the storm is only beginning. The House Doge Subcommittee hearing room, already charged from Representative Jasmine Crockett's opening salvo, crackles with renewed intensity at 11:03 a.m. plus 07 on June 24, 2025. The air is thick with anticipation as Crockett, her gavel still warm from the earlier bang, zeroes in on Elon Musk with laser focus. The billionaire slouched slightly in his chair, adjusts his posture, his trademark smirk faltering under the weight of her scrutiny. For the YouTube audience aged 40-70 tuning in, this is a front-row seat to a fiscal reckoning where every word could unravel the truth behind Musk's promised government savings. Crockett leans into the microphone, her Texas drawl sharp as a blade. "Mr. Musk, let's talk about your so-called savings." She begins, her voice dripping with skepticism. "Last fall, you stood before the nation and promised $2 trillion in cuts through Doge. $2 trillion enough to transform this government. But as of this week, your own website claims just $175 billion. Care to explain that gap?" The question hangs like a guillotine, targeting the heart of Musk's credibility and the taxpayer dollars at stake. The room murmurs, and viewers lean closer, sensing a showdown over numbers that don't add up. Musk straightens his tone, smooth but defensive. "Representative, I've worked tirelessly to streamline government," he says, gesturing with confidence. "The $175 billion is a solid start. Cuts to bloated agencies, inefficiencies slashed. We're building a leaner future." His words are polished, but Crockett isn't buying the spin. She pulls out a printed report, slamming it onto the table with a thud. A start, she retorts, her eyes narrowing. "Your website also bragged about $8 billion in savings from a contract, except it was $8 million. That's a 1,000-fold exaggeration, Mr. Musk. And those receipts you posted, they saved nothing. This isn't efficiency, this is a mirage." The accusation ignites a ripple of gasps. Crockett presses on, her voice rising. "Taxpayers aren't fools," she says. "We've allocated billions to Doge, expecting results, not fairy tales. You promised to root out fraud, but where's the evidence? The so-called fraud you touted was either old news or puffed-up nonsense. Every dollar wasted on your hype is a dollar not protecting our communities." Her focus on the budget resonates with viewers who've long suspected government waste, turning the hearing into a battle for their trust. Musk counters, leaning forward with a glint in his eye. "These cuts are about progress," he insists. "We're dismantling a broken system. The $175 billion is real, check the data. The rest will come as we refine the process." But Crockett cuts him off, her tone unrelenting. "Refine. You're playing with numbers while federal workers lose jobs and agencies crumble," she snaps. "Voice of America's down. 99% education's nearly halved. Where's the progress in that? This committee isn't here for your PR campaign. Show us the proof, or admit you've misled us." The exchange escalates as Crockett digs deeper. "Let's talk transparency," she says, flipping through pages. "Your website's a mess of dubious claims. $8 million mislabeled as $8 billion savings with no backing. How much have we spent chasing your phantom cuts? Staff hours, audits, public confusion that's taxpayer money down the drain." She pauses, letting the silence build. "Mr. Musk, you're not a magician pulling rabbits out of hats. You're accountable to the people funding this experiment. So where's the $2 trillion? Musk's smirk fades, replaced by a tight-lipped frown. "The process takes time," he replies, his voice strained. "We're uncovering savings, daily efficiencies you can't see from your desk." Crockett seizes the opening. "Time. We've given you months, and all we get is a fraction of your promise," she fires back. "This isn't about efficiency, it's a distraction. You're keeping us busy while your companies dodge oversight. Taxpayers deserve better than this smoke and mirrors." The room erupts in murmurs, with some nodding in agreement. For viewers, this is a masterclass in holding power to account. Crockett's relentless focus on the budget, $175 billion versus $2 trillion, the $8 million error, grounds the drama in real stakes. "Every exaggerated claim costs us," she concludes, her voice a clarion call. "This hearing will peel back the layers of your mirage, Mr. Musk. Let's see what's really behind it." As she yields the floor, the tension lingers, promising more fireworks. What will Musk reveal next under this scrutiny? The House Doge Subcommittee hearing room pulses with tension at 11:15 a.m. as the confrontation between Representative Jasmine Crockett and Elon Musk intensifies. The earlier clash over Musk's exaggerated savings claims has left the air thick with unresolved anger, and Crockett seizes the moment to shift the focus. Her gavel taps sharply, signaling a new line of attack, as the room leans in, captivated by the unfolding drama. The stakes are no longer just numbers, they're the livelihoods hanging in the balance, and Crockett is determined to expose the human toll of Musk's reforms. Crockett stands tall, her voice a thunderous call to action. "Mr. Musk, let's move beyond your mirage of savings." She begins her Texas drawl infused with urgency. "These cuts you've championed through Doge aren't just lines on a spreadsheet, they're people's lives. Millions have lost health care. SNAP benefits have been slashed by over $30 billion, and federal workers are out of jobs. In my district in Texas, seniors are terrified, wondering how they'll survive without the services you've gutted." Her words paint a vivid picture of despair, resonating with those who feel the weight of government decisions. She points an accusing finger at Musk, her tone unrelenting. "Voice of America's down. 99% of its staff, the Department of Education's nearly halved, and Health and Human Services has lost a quarter of its workforce," she says. "That's not efficiency, that's economic sabotage. You've disrupted agencies that protect our most vulnerable, and the ripple effect is hitting our economy hard. Businesses are struggling, families are breaking, and you sit there with that smirk like it's all a game." The room murmurs in agreement, the human cost laid bare for all to see. Musk adjusts his posture, his expression shifting to a mix of defiance and irritation. "Representative, these cuts are about innovation." He counters, his voice steady but strained. "We're freeing up resources to build a future, less bureaucracy, more progress. The economy will adapt. It always does." His response is a cold dismissal, but Crockett isn't swayed. She leans forward, her eyes locking onto his. "Adapt," she snaps. "Tell that to the single mom who can't feed her kids because SNAP's gone, or the senior who's lost her health care. Your progress is a wrecking ball, and the debris is landing on our citizens." Crockett digs deeper, her rhetoric soaring. "I've been home this week listening to my constituents," she says. "They're scared of what you've done with their tax dollars. You promised efficiency, but all I see is chaos. The Department of Education can't support our schools. HHS can't protect our health. How does that build a future? This isn't innovation, it's a reckless experiment, and the economy's paying the price." Her words strike a chord, highlighting the disconnect between Musk's vision and the ground reality fueling the room's growing unrest. Musk attempts a rebuttal, his tone growing sharper. "The old system was failing," he insists. "These cuts target waste agencies, we're overstaffed, and we're reallocating to where it matters. The data will show long-term gains," but Crockett cuts him off, her voice ablade. "Data? Where's your data on the millions losing benefits?" she demands. "You've slashed jobs without a plan, leaving agencies crippled. My seniors ask me daily how they'll afford medicine. Where's your answer for them? This isn't reallocating, it's abandoning the people who need us most." The exchange heats up as Crockett ties Musk's actions to personal gain. "Let's be real," she says, her gaze piercing. "These cuts feel like a distraction to shield your companies from oversight. While federal workers suffer, your businesses dodge investigations. Convenient, isn't it? Taxpayers aren't funding your empire, they're funding our communities." Musk's face tightens, but he offers no direct response, his silence speaking volumes. The room buzzes with speculation, the accusation hanging heavy. For those following the hearing, this is a stark revelation of the human cost behind Musk's reforms. Crockett's focus on healthcare. SNAP and job losses, over $30 billion in cuts, millions affected, grounds the debate in tangible suffering. "You've left a scar on this economy," she concludes, her voice resolute. "And this committee will make sure the truth comes out." As she pauses, the tension lingers, promising a deeper dive into Musk's intentions. The House Doge Subcommittee hearing room simmers with tension at 11:27 a.m. as Representative Jasmine Crockett presses forward, her earlier exposé of the economic fallout still echoing. The air is heavy with anticipation as she turns her gaze back to Elon Musk, her expression a mix of determination and suspicion. The billionaire, now visibly on edge, adjusts his tie, his earlier confidence waning under the relentless scrutiny. The stakes have shifted from numbers to intent, and Crockett is ready to peel back the layers of Musk's reforms. Crockett rises her voice, a steady drumbeat of authority. "Mr. Musk, let's cut through the noise." She begins her Texas drawl, sharp and unyielding. "These cuts you've pushed through Doge, 99% at Voice of America, nearly half at the Department of Education, a quarter at Health and Human Services, feel less like efficiency and more like a smokescreen. I believe they're a distraction to shield your companies from oversight." The accusation lands like a thunderclap, drawing a ripple of murmurs from the room. She paces slightly, her eyes locked on Musk. "While federal workers lose jobs, your businesses under investigation seem to skate free. Convenient, don't you think?" Musk leans back, his tone cool but strained. "Representative, that's a leap," he says, waving a hand dismissively. "Doge targets waste across all agencies. My companies aren't the focus. We've uncovered inefficiencies, and that's the mission." His deflection is smooth, but Crockett isn't deterred. She pulls out a file, flipping it open with a deliberate snap. "Inefficiencies," she retorts. "You promised to find fraud, billions in savings from corruption. Where's the evidence?" "The so-called fraud you touted was either old news or wildly exaggerated. This smells like a cover-up to protect your bottom line." The room buzzes as Crockett elaborates. "Let's look at the workforce changes," she says, her voice rising. "You've pushed to strip federal employees of court-recognized protections, turning them into at-will workers. Why? To weaken oversight, maybe. If agencies can't investigate your companies facing scrutiny, get a free pass. Taxpayers aren't funding a babysitting service for your empire." Her words strike a nerve, highlighting the erosion of safeguards that once attracted public servants, a point that resonates with those concerned about government integrity. Musk counters, his voice tightening. "Those protections were outdated," he insists. "At-will status boosts flexibility. Agencies can adapt faster. As for fraud, we're still digging. Results take time." But Crockett cuts him off, her tone a blade. "Time," she snaps. "You've had months, and all we've got is hot air. The fraud you claim to uncover was already known or inflated. Where's the new evidence? This subcommittee isn't here to wait for your excuses. We're here to hold you accountable." The exchange grows heated, Musk's silence on specific findings fueling the tension. Crockett presses her advantage, her rhetoric soaring. "This isn't about efficiency, it's about control," she declares. "You've gutted agencies, reduced their ability to oversee your operations, and called it reform. My constituents see through it. Federal workers losing jobs while your companies thrive. That's not leadership, that's manipulation." She pauses, letting the weight of her words settle. Musk shifts uncomfortably, his earlier bravado fading, but offers no concrete rebuttal, only a vague nod toward future reports. The room remains charged as Crockett concludes her salvo. "This hearing will expose the truth behind your cuts," she says, her voice firm. "If your goal was to dodge oversight, we're on to you. The people deserve better than a system rigged for one man's gain." The gavel taps, signaling a brief recess, but the confrontation lingers, setting the stage for what's to come. Musk's evasion has only deepened the resolve to dig further. The House Doge Subcommittee hearing room crackles with renewed energy at 11:35 a.m. as the recess ends and Representative Jasmine Crockett resumes her relentless assault. The earlier exchanges have left Elon Musk visibly rattled, his earlier swagger replaced by a guarded demeanor. The room, still buzzing from the oversight evasion debate, braces for the next salvo as Crockett shifts her focus to a contentious new target, a recently passed budget bill dubbed the Big Bad Bill. The stakes are higher than ever, with taxpayer dollars at the heart of the fray. Crockett steps to the podium, her voice a commanding roar. Mr. Musk, let's turn to this so-called big bad bill that just squeaked through the House. She begins her Texas drawl, thick with scorn. This legislation barely passing 215 to 214 is a mess, and your fingerprints are all over it. You've criticized it for increasing the deficit, yet your Doge cuts paved the way for its excesses. Let's break it down. $1 more billion set aside for the president's golfing trips over 4 years, and $42,000 bonuses for ICE agents. Who asked for this nonsense? The room erupts in murmurs, the sheer audacity of the figures sparking outrage. She paces, her eyes locked on Musk. This isn't governance, it's a giveaway, she says, her tone dripping with indignation. While you slash healthcare and snap benefits for millions, you're funneling taxpayer money into vanity projects and selective rewards. Over $30 billion cut from SNAP, millions losing coverage, and yet we've got cash for golf carts and agent bonuses. That's not efficiency, that's corruption dressed up as reform. Her words paint a stark contrast, highlighting the human cost against the bill's lavish allocations, a point that resonates with those concerned about fiscal responsibility. Musk leans forward, his voice tight but defiant. Representative, I've opposed this bill, he says, echoing his recent interview. It undermines Doge's work by bloating the deficit. The golfing funds and bonuses weren't my idea. Blame the lawmakers who pushed it through. His attempt to distance himself is met with a swift rebuttal. Crockett slams a document onto the table, the sound echoing. Oppose, she snaps. Your cuts created the vacuum this bill fills. You can't cry foul now. This big bad bill, I'd call it a bad-built butch bill, reflects the chaos you've sown. Who benefits from these priorities if not your allies? The exchange intensifies as Crockett digs deeper. Let's talk numbers, she says, her voice rising. 2 Republicans vanished. 2 voted with us, 1 went present. A razor-thin margin that barely passed this monstrosity. And for what, $1 billion for golfing while seniors skip meals, $42,000 bonuses for ICE, while families lose health care. You've criticized the deficit, Mr. Musk, but your reforms open the door to this waste. How do you justify that? Her rhetoric soars, framing the bill as a direct consequence of Musk's influence fueling the room's growing unrest. Musk attempts a recovery, his tone strained. The intent was to cut waste, not create new spending, he insists. Doge focused on efficiency, any excess is on Congress, not me. But Crockett cuts him off, her gaze piercing. Efficiency, she retorts. You've gutted agencies, then stood by as this bill pours money into frivolous ends. The deficit's up because your cuts lacked a plan. Taxpayers aren't funding your vision, they're paying for your mistakes. The accusation lands hard, Musk's silence amplifying the tension as he struggles to respond. Crockett presses her point, her words a clarion call. This bill's a disgrace, she declares. $1 billion for golfing bonuses for agents, while millions suffer. That's not leadership, that's a travesty. Your Doge cuts were the spark. This bill is the fire. We're here to oversee, not to enable your chaos. She pauses, letting the weight of her critique sink in. Musk shifts uncomfortably, his earlier bravado gone, but offers no concrete defense, only a vague nod toward future adjustments. The room remains charged as Crockett wraps her assault. This subcommittee will not let this slide, she says, her voice firm. The big bad bill exposes the flaws in your approach, and will hold every dollar accountable. The gavel taps, signaling a brief pause, but the battle lines are drawn, the air thick with unresolved conflict. Musk's influence on this budget fiasco lingers, setting the stage for the next round. The House Doge Subcommittee hearing room vibrates with tension at 11:45 a.m. as the brief pause, following Representative Jasmine Crockett's blistering critique of the big bad bill, ends. The air is electric, charged with the weight of the morning's revelations, savings mirages, economic fallout, and now wasteful spending tied to Elon Musk's influence. Crockett stands at the podium, her posture unyielding, her Texas drawl a beacon of resolve. Musk, seated across from her, adjusts his jacket, his earlier confidence eroded into a guarded stillness. The room holds its breath, sensing the climax of this grueling showdown over taxpayer trust and government integrity. Crockett's voice cuts through the silence like a whip. "Mr. Musk, we've laid bare the chaos of your Doge cuts and the mess of this so-called bill." She begins her tone a mix of triumph and determination. "But this hearing isn't over until we address your lingering shadow. You may have stepped back from your special role, but your influence and the stench of your actions remains. My constituents are terrified, and I intend to get answers." She pauses, letting the accusations sink in her eyes, fixed on Musk. The room murmurs the stakes, shifting to the future of accountability. She delves into the heart of the matter, her words a steady drumbeat. "Let's talk about the sensitive data you accessed," she says, her voice lowering with gravity. "While you were shaping Doge, you had your hands on classified information details about federal operations investigations, even national security. My seniors back home are asking me what you did with that data, and they're scared it's been misused. You've left Washington, but that knowledge hasn't. What did you do with it?" The question is a thunderclap, drawing a ripple of unease from the audience as the implications unfold. Musk leans forward, his tone measured but edged with defiance. "Representative, my work was above board," he says, his hands gesturing for calm. "Any data I accessed was to identify waste, nothing more. I'm no longer in an official role, but I'll remain a friend and advisor to the president if needed. That's transparency." His response is a shield, but Crockett sees through it. She steps closer to the table, her gaze piercing. "Transparency," she snaps. "You're hinting at backroom influence while dodging the question. My constituents aren't reassured, they're alarmed. That data could compromise our safety, and you're treating it like a casual favor." The exchange escalates as Crockett presses her point. "This isn't just about past cuts," she declares, her voice rising. "It's about the future. Your Doge slashed 99% of Voice of America's staff, nearly halved education, and cut a quarter of health and human services, leaving agencies vulnerable. Now, with this big bad bill, funneling $1 billion to golfing and $42,000 bonuses to ICE, you're still pulling strings. If you've got sensitive data, it's a weapon in the wrong hands. We need to know it's secure." Her words paint a dire picture linking Musk's past actions to ongoing threats, fueling the room's growing agitation. Musk attempts a rebuttal, his voice tightening. "The data was handled responsibly," he insists. "Doge's mission was to streamline, not sabotage. My advisory role is informal, nothing sinister. The president values my input, and that's how we'll keep improving." But Crockett cuts him off, her tone a blade. "Improving," she retorts. "You've weakened our government, and now you're an unofficial puppet master. My district's seniors fear their personal information was exploited. Where's your proof it wasn't? This subcommittee won't let you slink away with that shadow hanging over us." The accusation lands hard, Musk's silence amplifying the tension as he struggles to respond. Crockett shifts to her next move, her rhetoric soaring. "We tried to subpoena you," before she says, her voice steady but forceful. "Republicans blocked it. Why? If your work was so great, I suspect it's because they know the truth would unravel this mess. But mark my words, when Democrats take the majority, hopefully soon, I'll bring you back under oath. You'll answer for every cut, every dollar wasted, and every bite of data you touched." The promise is a gauntlet, thrown the room buzzing with anticipation as she outlines a future reckoning. Musk smirks faintly, his confidence returning. "Subpoenas won't change the facts," he says, leaning back. "Doge delivered savings $175 billion and counting. My advice to the president will keep pushing that forward. You can't stop progress." His defiance is a spark, but Crockett quells it with a final thrust. "Progress," she snaps. "You've left a scar, millions without healthcare jobs, lost agencies crippled. Your savings are a fraction of your hype, and your influence lingers like a bad odor. This hearing is just the start, will expose it all." The confrontation reaches its peak as Crockett addresses the broader impact. "My constituents see through your game," she declares. Seniors losing benefits, workers discarded, and now a bill with golfing funds, while families starve. That's your legacy. You may advise from the shadows, but this subcommittee will shine a light. The data you held, the cuts you pushed, they're not forgotten. She pauses, her gaze sweeping the room, then settles on Musk. We're not done with you yet. Musk offers a tight-lipped response, his voice low. Time will prove Doge's worth, he says. My role is to guide, not govern. The president decides. But Crockett stands firm, her closing statement a wall of resolve. Guide, you've guided us into chaos, she retorts. This hearing has shown your cuts were reckless, your savings dubious, and your influence a threat. When the time comes, you'll face the full weight of this committee's oversight. Until then, the stench lingers and we'll clean it up. The gavel falls, signaling the hearing's end at 12:05 p.m. Crockett steps back, her expression a mix of exhaustion and determination, while Musk gathers his papers, his smirk gone. The room remains charged, the standoff unresolved, with the promise of future battles hanging in the air. The impact of Musk's reforms and the data he held lingers a shadow over the proceedings as the subcommittee prepares for its next move. Don't let this showdown fade into the shadows. Stay informed and join the fight for accountability. Subscribe now and turn on notifications to follow every twist in this gripping saga. Share this video with those who demand transparency in government, and leave your thoughts in the comments. How should the subcommittee hold Musk accountable for his reforms? Together we can keep the pressure on for answers and justice.